Welcome to another episode of Phillip Trading Podcast. My name here is William, and our speaker today is Liao, which is marketing executive at Phillip Futures. So crude oil prices has been on the rise and going above the 80 bucks level and reaching 7-year highs recently due to supply concern. Okay, so are we going to see oil price going above the 100 bucks level in 2022? Okay, so for those, this is something that we are going to discuss today, whether the crude oil price is going to go above 100 bucks level in 2022. For those that are watching this podcast, feel free to share this section with your friends, okay, on your Facebook. If you have questions, you can comment at the comment box below, okay, so we can answer your questions. So how have you been now?
Well, I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for asking.
Okay, good to hear that. Okay, so back to our main discussion today is whether crude oil price, what are the reasons that contribute to the crude oil prices and whether crude oil can go above 100 bucks level. So first question for you now, what are the factors contributing to crude oil going to 7-year high?
Okay. Yes, so we have seen recently the crude oil prices has been rising since late December 2021 and hit a 7-year high since 2014, few days ago. So the crude oil prices started with $50 per barrel and increased to a high of around $86 in late October last year. And the rally in crude oil prices all this while was due to oil consumption has outpaced oil production as a result of increasing vaccination rates, and demand for oil in the physical market has been rising constantly as more and more countries are loosening their pandemic restriction, which allows more air traffic to be carried out, and therefore increase in crude oil consumption. According to US Energy Information Administration, the global oil consumption in 2021 has rose by 5.5% from 2020. However, the low production could not keep up with the higher demand in crude oil. This was mainly due to the OPEC Plus countries had cut their crude oil production since 2020 as they tried to limit crude oil production throughout last year to support higher crude oil prices. And in 2022, this year, the OPEC oil producing countries are struggling to produce oil at their capacity to add about 400,000 barrels per day each month. And the low production has led to withdrawal from global oil inventories, which has caused tight inventory in the oil market. The low inventory in the US has come to the 7 weeks of declining, and it has declined by about 4.5 million barrels for the week ending 7th of January. And next, the recent geopolitical event has further supported a higher oil price. First, the market was worried about the geopolitical tensions in the Middle East during this tight crude oil market due to a rebel attack by Yemen's group on the UAE, United Arab Emirates. And lastly, oil prices had finally hit its highest level since 2014 on last Wednesday after a fire on a pipeline which has stopped the oil flowing from Iraq to Turkey.
Okay, thank you. Now, so from what I heard through your sharing, is mainly due to the supply concern. It's all about the supply that has been contributing to the oil prices. Okay, next question here. So the Federal Reserve has signaled to raise the interest rate at least 3 to 4 times this year. So what are the potential impact that you foresee on crude oil prices in your own opinion?
Okay, so first of all, because crude oil is quoted in US dollar, therefore we need to understand the relationship between the interest rate and the dollar, US dollar. And as we all know, interest rate has an inverse relationship with the US dollar, meaning that with higher interest rate, the dollar would fall in value, whereas with low interest rate, the dollar tend to rise. So with the Fed raising interest rate this year to control the already high inflation, it would make the dollar stronger, and as a result, it would make crude oil more expensive to buy in dollar term. And therefore, the higher rates we see in 2022 will cap the crude oil price in this year under ordinary situation.
Okay. So next question here. What are the potential risks to reward investing in crude oil at current level? Do you foresee crude oil going higher than 100 bucks?
Okay, so crude oil has been on an uptrend since 2020 after the pandemic from the record low, but it is still below the $100 level. So from a technical point of view, the likelihood of oil hitting $100 level is quite low in the short term. If we take the recent high of about $85.8 as a peak reversal, and if the near-term price track lower below 85 level, it might head toward the middle of $60 level, which we have seen in November 2021. And it is also worth to point out that the RSI, the Relative Strength Index, is in overbought territory. And so in terms of the risk to reward in trading crude oil, I base the pivot point at $85. So for a bullish view of breaking out to $100 level, I am looking at the reward of about $15 from the current level. And if we cut loss at $80, I see a risk of losing about $8. So it gives us a risk to reward ratio of 5 to 15. And so for a bearish view, I see profit taking at around $75, whereas in terms of cutting loss, I see a level at around $92 level. So it gives us a cut loss at about $7. So therefore, the risk to reward for a bearish view for me is 7 to 10 ratio. And whether or not the oil price will be rising above $100, it is difficult to foresee any further geopolitical tensions which might impact the oil market. However, with China and US trying to release oil from their strategic petroleum reserve to cool the market down, there will be a ceiling price for oil. And whereas the rising interest rate in the US will bring inflation under control, so what I reckon is it is unlikely to see crude oil going above $100 level.
Okay. So you reckon that it's difficult for oil to go above 100 bucks level. Okay. So last question here. So for our new traders, okay, or investors that are interested to explore crude oil futures contract, what are your advice to them? Since you are saying that crude oil has difficulty to go above the 100 bucks level, what are your advice to the new traders?
Okay, so for new traders out there, I reckon it is a good time to have a look into the crude oil markets during this period of time, as the oil market currently have more opportunity to chip in. So based on the recent fundamental of crude oil, so if you would like to participate in the oil market, Phillip Futures is promoting their star products in 2022, which includes the NYMEX Micro WTI crude oil. It is a micro futures contract with only 10% of the size of the standard contract, meaning that you only need a relatively small amount of margin to allow you to have more flexibility to your portfolio. And you also have the same exposure to the crude oil market with a smaller tick value.
Okay. So thank you for your sharing today, Liang. So for those that are interested to find out how to trade or how to participate the crude oil futures contract, feel free to drop us a message via our Facebook, and one of our representatives will contact you as soon as possible. So like Leo have just mentioned that we are currently doing Phillip Star products where we give our clients to trade, we allow our clients to trade the micro crude oil futures at just USD3. I believe this is one of the cheapest rate in Malaysian market to trade the crude oil futures contract. Okay, so thank you, Leo, and probably I'll see you next time.
Okay, thank you. See you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.